Hello and welcome everybody into another edition of the Sun Solar Panel. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or listening to us wherever you get podcasts, we are so happy to have you, the Flaming Ballers, along with us. I am your host, Greg Esposito. Ahoy, hoy! And with the new intro music, I feel like we're getting ready to slow jam the Suns news. And joining me to do that is the Silver Fox, the man with the golden tongue for curse words. It's Dave King. Dave, how are you?
Oh gosh, yeah. I say one a week. Yeah, I'm bad, so bad.
I don't care. Curse away, Dave. And joining us,
Heck yeah,
the Carmel Thunder from down under, making it victorious, a return from his new lair in an undisclosed part of Chandler. It is one Saul Bookman. Saul, how are you?
No, you could have just said, coming live from the dumpster fire that is this new house. So, because that's what it's felt like for like the last week. Just been trying to reorganize everything. It's just moving is the worst. It is the absolute worst.
Like I did not want to pass judgment on your home by just seeing the lamp in the background. Like I just didn't want to pass judgment on it. And so I didn't. You're the one that called it a dumpster fire. I think it's a beautiful new home. It's all a matter of perspective, just like the Phoenix Suns this week were a matter of perspective.
That's right. That's right. See, when I look at it, I see, hey man, you got walls, you got a roof. It looks like you're in a t-shirt, so you're not cold. It's great. And that's me trying to talk people down off the ledge after a Suns loss. Hey, they have players. They made some baskets. It's good.
Yeah, Dave is like the parent trying to encourage you that the massive screw up that you just did, it wasn't that bad. Look, we understand that your pants fell down in front of the whole class, but it's not that bad, son. I promise you, life will get worse. Is Dave trying to talk to Suns fans after these losses? Another weird week in Sunsville. We'll say that for it. Look, I simply want to know off the top here, exactly who are these Phoenix Suns? Because I don't know. To me, they're very much like the first 3 episodes of WandaVision. I don't know if you guys are watching.
Yeah.
This show,
oh yeah.
The first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
They're semi-entertaining. You're excited to watch them, and you have no clue what's going on. Like there's very few hints as to what's going on, and I feel like that's been the Phoenix Suns so far, and in particular this week. You think you know what's coming up. You think you know what's going to happen, and you really have no clue with this team. Dave, what were your thoughts? Who are these Phoenix Suns?
I had the same. Well, right now they are praying for Frank Nadeau. That's who this Phoenix Suns team is, and that's pretty wild. You come into the season, you've got 2 All-Stars in Devin Booker and Chris Paul. You've got Deandre Ayton, who is. No matter what everybody says, he is approaching all-star status. He's not going to get there, but he's put up the numbers that look pretty good, and he anchors a pretty good defense. But that's not who wins games, apparently, for this team. Very few people win games for this team, but when they do, it's Frank Kaminsky getting almost a triple-double, and Abdul Nader getting 16 points and looking like an aggressive Booker at some points in that game. It was
16 points on like 45 shots. Let's not act like there was some savior there. Abdul Nader.
No, in the second, in the first half, the 2 of them combined for 1 for 10 from the field. In the second half, they just dominated in that. You got to give them credit for that 8-minute stretch. Give them credit.
No, I don't have to give them credit. Because
they give them credit.
They would have kept that first quarter lead if Abdul Nader hadn't missed a bunch of shots later on. Like I look.
Hey, at least he was aggressive going to the basket. No, he didn't draw fouls. No, he didn't make his layups, but at least he tried.
He looks like a Walmart version of Devin Booker. All right, like if you squint your eyes, you go, "Oh, Devin Booker's back on the court," and then you go, "Wait, no, Devin Booker doesn't suck." All right.
I like how you put it.
What is wrong with you this morning? Jesus.
You know what? I think that just means Abdel Nader is a star, because Espo also did not like another acquisition from the Thunder this year, and he turned out pretty well too.
Yeah.
Actually, he's been disappointing so far. Let's not.
All right, we're just going to remove Espo from the show because this is already getting way out of control. Oh my gosh. You had to go to timeout for a second, man. I had to calm you down for a second, man.
That's the first time I've been put in Sun solar panel purgatory. That was weird.
Yeah.
Your
The
consciousness is still
control
there
is
and
back with
nothing else
me
is.
today.
Look, it's been a rough week for all of us when it comes to Suns basketball. I don't want to go overly positive about Frank Kaminsky and Abdel Nader, who did enough.
Let's at least give them a little bit of positive airtime. You don't have to crap all over them after their best games of their careers.
Espo is a Nader hater for sure.
Nader hater.
I'm a
Nader hater.
I'm
Nader
a Frank
hater.
fan. All right, I'm a Frank fan and a Nader hater. Let's look.
Nader
I
hater.
get it. I think it's probably, and we'll get into this later. It's probably more because
Pyramid Pappy. I like Darth Vader. Pyramid Pappy. Yes.
Look, I think my frustration is probably more with the fact of who isn't playing when Nader is getting major minutes over this last stretch. I think that's where the frustration is coming from. We'll get into it later in the show. But Saul, what were your impressions? Who do you think, because Dave didn't really answer this question, who do you think this Phoenix Suns team is?
I think just like the rest of the NBA, they're trying to figure it out. And I think that's the biggest thing that Suns fans need to realize. We are not the only team that is struggling with their ups and downs. I mean, every team in the NBA has had a bad loss. Every team has blown big leads, and every team has just about gotten blown out. Like it's not an unusual case with these Phoenix Suns. Yes, they're 9-8. Yes, they started out much better, and that kind of led us to believe that better things were coming down the road. But I don't want to sound overly optimistic, but at the same time, in relation to other teams in the league, that's where I have to compare this, because this is an unusual year. In any other year, in a regular 82-game season with fans and everything, then yeah, we should be a little worried. But every team in the NBA has had its struggles, and I think comparatively to those teams, the Suns are just fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I'm coming out strong on Nader and Frank to a certain extent, the CP3 comment, because I know this team can be better. I know they should be better.
We all know they can be better.
And I think they will be better. I think this is incomplete right now if we were actually giving some kind of grade, simply because of the fact that you haven't had Booker, you haven't had Saric. And Saric isn't the answer at big man.
Look, if you like the way Frank Kaminsky played on Thursday night, that's Saric basically. Saric does that. He produces from the high post. He he runs the offense basically from the high post. Frank, it was just a marvel on that last game. I love that Frank. Well, he can't get off the ground. I mean, I have a higher jumping clearance than Frank, but
I think
that was fun to watch.
The real key to all this is I just want you two to keep jinxing the team every time somebody blows up, and then they turn it around right away. Like that's what happened the other night with Nader and Kaminsky. Just for those of you who don't know, these two were like, oh my gosh, and they just completely crapped all over Kaminsky and Nader. And then as soon as they did, boom, run.
I literally sent a text to Espo and Saul saying, I hope I never see Kaminsky and Nader in the same lineup again after the first half when they went 1 for 10. So you're absolutely right. I'd love to reverse magic. I hope I never see Devin Booker playing like an all-star again. Boom, let's go.
Look, I'm consistent at least. I don't change my tune. I still sound like I was in that text thread. Dave,
and also, by the way, you did make history this morning, Espo. You were the fastest person to ever get pulled off the stream.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
I think Dave
was like 2 minutes in. I was like 2 minutes in. We've barely gotten through introductions before you crapped all over Nader.
Just wait. There's more time for me to wind up back in show Purgatory. Don't you worry.
That's right. Maybe we can see if he can set records for the number of times he gets put in timeout.
There you go.
I think I'm at 2. I think right now the record is 2.
So I have 2 more times to get there.
Yeah.
Look, I enjoy what Frank did in that third and fourth quarter on Wednesday night. There's no doubt in that, and that is the Saric rule. I still don't. Yeah. I still think they need another big that can defend in the post too, though. For when you're facing the Jokic's of the world, the bigger guys, and if Ayton is in
There-
foul trouble,
There isn't that guy out there in the league.
Anthony Davis is going to eat Dario Saric for lunch.
You're saying
Cool.
that the
Then
Suns
trade
need
for
a
Anthony
backup
Davis.
center that can defend Nikola Jokic? Okay.
No, I'm saying that could put up a fight. See, Frank needed a game like he had on Wednesday because the double overtime loss was very much on him and his inability to even be an impediment to Jokic. Look, there's balance to all this. That is what this whole season has been two sides of the same coin. It's the good and the bad that we've seen from this team. We've yet to see a fully consistent outing. 4 quarters, we've rarely seen that. I think there's been 1 or 2 games we've seen 4 solid quarters from this team. There's always bbeen lapses, and we haven't seen a full roster, which was the point I was trying to make earlier, was the fact that, Dario, I did hello in the chat says I wanted Alex Len free agency. I did not. That was a joke on Twitter. Thank you very much.
They never forget. They have receipts.
Look, I think they haven't had Dario. They haven't had Devin. They obviously had the health and safety protocol issues that came up. So they haven't found a flow at all. And that's a big problem. And then Dave, you alluded to this earlier, but Deandre Ayton finally finds
a lot of illusions.
And they can't win. And that was very weird to me. I don't understand the dynamic here. They tend to not feed DeAndre Ayton, and then games they do, the rest of the team. I don't understand the dynamic because I feel like
it's not a natural
they can all
thing.
click. This will all be okay.
If they could all click, it'd be okay. And you know what? If anyone's going to make it work better, maybe not. Obviously, it's not natural. It's not like you roll the ball out and all of a sudden CP3, Booker, and Ayton figured out immediately how to play together and maximize each other's abilities. That obviously did not happen. But they can learn to play better. You know why? Because CP3 is a point guard and a 10-time All-Star. He knows how to make things work. He'll figure it out. Will it be the best ever? No, but it's going to be a lot better than it is today. I will point out though that the beginning of the season. Also, let's talk a second about how CP3 adapts. Beginning of the season, the Suns were at the slowest pace in the NBA. Remember? Like we were 30th in pace. The last 5 games, which is over basically 10 days, they've been in the top 10. The last couple of games, they've been in the top 5 in pace. So CP3 knows how to. Oh God, here you go. Glasses, Saul.
According to the analytics.
Oh Jesus Christ! So the Suns are playing faster. They're also top 5 in 3-point shots since Devin Booker went out. It's been an adjustment, and they'll figure it out. CP3 will figure out how to play with DA better. Right now, they're in the angry big brother phase where the little brother's just screwing around.
Well, I mean, DA showed us some things this past week, obviously. That goes without saying.
He showed us some older things in the last couple of games.
Yeah. I mean, the inconsistency, especially offensively, of DA is going to be an issue all year long until. But again, this is one of those things that as time goes on, and the more and more they can trust and rely on him, like he showed for that brief little spurt. The more he produces efforts like that, the more they're going to rely on him, and then the more they will feed him. And Vincent Lai just actually posted is the post entry pass, is it a dead art? And I actually read an article the other day talking about that very thing. It's not just with the Suns. There's a lot of teams out there that don't take advantage of players in the post, because a lot of players in the post are getting a little bit more finesse in their game, and they shoot from the perimeter, and that post bang down low art is almost, I'm not going to say extinct, but it's going away. And
that's on the coaching
it is
sure,
but
it's
it's
on the coaching staff, but players are used to what your tendencies are. DA is a very traditional, well, not very traditional, but he doesn't get plays scripted for him to be down low on the post very often. Okay, so when you're to produce that and to look for that, it's just not something that's in the playbook apparently for Monty Williams.
And I guarantee you, in college, high school, And most NBA teams, they don't practice feeding the post. They just don't, a low post guy. They practice the high post handoffs and flips to the center who's supposed to do something with it at that point or pass it on. But they definitely do not know. They're not taught. It's not ingrained in point guards or any guards on how to feed the post. In fact, one of the best guys feeding the post right now is Jay Crowder. I don't even know how that happened. Chris Paul isn't even, because Chris Paul is used to throwing lobs, and DA is not going to be a lob threat. He doesn't like jumping and catching at the same time and throwing it down. All three things just can't happen for DA. It's got to be a bounce pass. Steve Nash was incredible with that with Amari. Amari didn't do the jump dunk finishes either. So he's got to figure out how to bounce past that in there, and he will. I think he will.
Yeah, I eventually I think that chemistry comes, but they started 5-2. They're now 9-8. That's obviously problematic. There was a lot of attention paid to them early in the season, and they've had a rough patch. I mean, that's a kind way of saying what this. I believe it's a 2-6 run has looked like. So. I do want to know this. I was thinking about this the other day, and in particular, the 20-point win Thursday night against the Warriors. You look at that, and it never felt, or it never felt like it was pretty basketball. And I wonder, have we been too spoiled in Phoenix? You're talking Cotton Express. You're talking the Purple Gang from Phoenix, 7 seconds or less. Even that 48-win team under Hornacek was very much a run and gun and high excitement kind of team. Is it okay to win ugly? Or we just
I think we just
expecting a certain kind of basketball?
I think we just live on complaining about something. It's not just you, Espo. It's all of Suns Twitter. When the Suns were losing pretty, they're like, God, I just want a gritty win. I don't care what it looks like. I want to win. Suns get a win that doesn't look pretty. I just want it to look pretty. It needs to look pretty. Look, the Suns are not going to look like the league's best team every single night for 48 minutes. It just doesn't happen. Why do we have to put caveats on every single thing and say, yeah, you gave me this, but I want that instead? Same thing with the DA criticism. Same things with Booker criticisms. No one's talking about Booker's defense anymore. They said that's all he needed. Now it's got to be this and that and the other thing. Same with CP3. Same with DA. That got me when you said it was an ugly win. Like, is that a bad thing? No, it was a freaking win.
But you're just not used to it here in Phoenix. That's all that is. A lot of East Coast teams win ugly, and that's how they used to do it in the 90s and the early 2000s, right? The Knicks and the Celtics. They just bang and bang, and it's just like nasty, ugly basketball. But you got to win. You got to win. Who cares? And I don't think we're used to that. And that's the CP3 effect as well. Him slowing the ball down. The game down. That's part of this, and we have to get adjusted to it. But along with that, the problems come, and I think this is kind of what you're alluding to, Espo, is execution. Like, you can win ugly basketball games, but when you have plays that are designed, and Monty kind of lost his mind about this the other night, but after they blew that big lead against OKC, is there was open layups, there was open shots, and dudes were just missing bunnies and wide open threes. You can't do that at this level. You have to make. And
they were doing no pass and one pass shots, which
Cam Johnson has to make those threes when he's dead ass wide open, like he was the other night. Like that can't be a miss. Not in that situation. Not that late in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, you'll be sitting your ass on the pine. Period.
And not when all the other teams are making those open threes like that against the Suns. I mean, geez, it's always like I can count on one hand how many. Oh my God, that was so open and he missed it. Thank you. To the opposition. Suns are doing it every game, and Cam's having trouble with that right now. He'll round back in, but man, right now it's rough to watch him putting up an open three. I'd almost rather see Abdel Nader do it.
Dave, and I wasn't. Look, I'm fine. My point was, for 53 years, 43. We won't count the last 10, but for a long time, we've watched teams that were predicated on exciting offense, and they never won a title in this town. Maybe watching some uglier basketball with wins is what you need for some success. Like if this were the 2004 Pistons, if they won a title that way, I don't give a damn as long as the Larry O'Brien Trophy's calling Phoenix home. I just think sometimes people get down on things because it just doesn't look the way that they want it in terms of basketball. And honestly, I couldn't care. Thursday night was beautiful in how it was ugly. I'd much rather be the Frank Kaminsky of games than the Kelly Oubre of games right now, looking really pretty and sucking pretty bad. All right, that's the.
I'd much rather Frank Nadeau.
You should never put that string of sentences together ever.
I'd much rather a Frank Nadeau than a Kelly bomb. I mean, luckily Kelly Oubre looks like he's the jilted lover who was at the bar with his buddies, finally got talked into going out one night, and there's his ex-girlfriend sitting there at the bar. That's what Kelly Oubre looked like on Thursday, and I feel bad for him. I really felt bad for him.
Why?
He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Personally, not professionally. I loved watching him go 1 for 11 and miss a two-handed dunk. That was fun. But personally, he looks like a dude who's like, oh, wah, wah, wah. So I'd much rather have Frank Nadeau than that. I'm real happy with how that went. Okay, Saul, do me a favor. What?
I'm saying Frank has one game, and you're just like, man,
it's an almost triple double. Oh shoot, I can't remember how many years it's been since somebody the Suns notes they told us, but how many years it's been since somebody had 12, 14, and 8 in 25 or fewer minutes off the bench. It's freaking incredible. Let's enjoy this.
Dave's like, I would take Frank Nadeau over anybody else in the league, not named Devin Booker.
On Thursday night in that Golden State game, I'll take Frank Nadeau for the win. Heck yeah.
I'd take Frank Nadeau over that Steph Curry any day of the week.
Hey, Frank and Nader. Frank Nadeau. That's it, man. Hey, okay, Saul, you got to do me a favor and put your glasses back on for a second.
Oh, here we go. All right, let's do it.
All right,
nerd time.
One of these guys, nerd time. Look, somebody mentioned that the Suns' fourth quarters are awful, and it's true. The Suns are worst in the league through before Wednesday's game, but worst in the league in the fourth quarter. One of the best in the league the first 3 quarters, 8-3 when they lead after 3 quarters, and worst in the league in the fourth quarter. They've got to turn that around, and the people responsible for that are the All-Stars. So I'm sure they'll figure that out. That's the Suns' worst problem right now, is that they're, for some dumb reason, selling. Keep selling that, Dave. Yes, I am pimping Frank Nadeau. I don't care if anybody likes it or not. I'm going to say that until they play poorly again. But back to CP3 and Devin Booker. Those are the guys who have to straighten out the fourth quarters. If they had straightened out the fourth quarters, we would be in a much better position right now and talking about, is it 4th seed or 3rd seed?
And that is Nerd Corner with Dave King.
Dave's Nadeau stat of the week.
Sponsored by absolutely nobody. Well, first off, Dave, I have some beautiful property in Kaminsky Cove. I'd love to sell you at a price that is astronomically high right now. If you'd like to take it off my hands,
swept away by Frank Nadeau.
I also think there's a simple solution to all these struggles that the Suns have had this season, and that's just, let's just put Harden in the game. That seems like
thanks, Reuters.
That seems like a pretty good play.
That doesn't even make sense. Jay Crowder. The name isn't anywhere near your search for James Harden. Really? Was it literally the JA and then
somebody put JA?
They just put in a random black guy, and that's what popped up, and that's what they put up. Honestly, that's the only explanation for this. He's a brother with a beard.
I'm sure they had an intern who'd never watched any sports in charge of doing that night.
I guess you're probably right about that.
But the whole system of images is based on name. So it should be pretty easy to find the guy named James Harden wearing a Nets uniform.
They just stopped at JA. I'm sure they did.
So you guys have, Dave in particular, spent a lot of time drooling over Nader, and I want to bring up the
Nader drool. Yes, the Egyptian Kelly Oubre, the off-brand Devin Booker. Yeah.
Enough of this. The three
Very
guard,
poor man's Devin Booker.
the
Yes.
third string guard lineup that Monty ran out there. Etuan Moore, Langston Galloway, Abdul Nader. Do we want to see that again ever? Or, what are your thoughts on this very bizarre lineup that was run out there with really no point guard, but then really kind of three guys pretending to be point guard?
It's an ugly win, but they were up by 25 in the fourth quarter. Like, if you want to see those three again, that means that we're probably blowing the other team out as well. And
No, but they came in before there was a giant lead like that. That was not. That was not. They came in because it was a victory cigar moment. They came in long before that. It was just. It struck me as a bizarre lineup. And yes, in the end,
It was
got the
definitely a
job
bizarre
done.
lineup. It only got the job done because of Frank Nadeau. Because
And
Frank
that was
became the point guard in that offense. But no, Etuan Moore, I feel bad for Etuan Moore, man. The only minutes he's getting is to, we've got no other point guards. Can you run point? And the dude's never run point in his life. I feel bad for him. He's a trooper, true pro, all that stuff. But man, I feel bad for him right now. But at least he's getting some minutes finally. Abdul Nader is getting the minutes because he's bigger than those dudes. And he can play when you're playing teams with bigger wings, you can't be throwing out 3 6'1" guys, which is what they were doing with Galloway, Payne, and Carter. Javon Carter has been playing poorly. Defensively, he's always there, but offensively, 20-some% of his threes and no passing. So I can see why Monty's rotating. But basically, Monty has to rotate. They signed all these dudes. They've got to give each one of these guys a chance to do something. I just hope each one gets a chance to be a backup shooting guard this year and not just a backup point guard when he gets his minutes.
Oh, why does everybody have to have a chance?
Sorry,
this
I put you to sleep,
school.
Oh,
This
my
isn't
God.
elementary school basketball, right? Not everybody needs to get a chance, and I don't understand why Langston Galloway fell out of favor with Monty Williams there for a stretch when continually the guy comes in and he scores, and an offense that has been stagnant at times needs a guy like that can be the irrational scorer. And of anybody,
Who are you talking about?
I resent that. I resent your, Monty is acting like Robin Hood and stopping the Langston Galloway stock. Their comment there, Espo. I really do.
Look, it's just confusing to me because this team has fallen in love with the three, right? There's no doubt about it. And some nights they can't hit it. But you know who can? Langston Galloway. He's shooting well over 40% from deep, and you're not giving him the minutes. If you're going to shoot that many threes, at least have a guy out there that makes them consistently. I'd much rather see Langston Galloway trying to hit some threes than some of the other guys that have been chucking up shots and missing them. When this offense
Langston
gets
can play a little bit of defense, but man, the problem is that you've already got Campaign and Javon Carter, who are basically his size. So if you need a little bit of a changeup, he's not that much of a changeup.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Langston Galloway just doesn't give you that much flexibility. You are only putting him in for instant offense. That's really his only role. He's like Eddie House.
Yes, but my point is there's been stretches, even in games that he has not played, where the offense has gone completely cold. So why don't you turn to a guy that has the potential to drop 9 points in 5 minutes and turn that around for you? Why not at least turn to that? Because I can accept, a little bit of lapse on the defensive end if he's the only guy that's actually fueling your offense. It's just, it was one of the weird things that stood out to me during some of these offensive struggles.
Okay, put the glasses back on, Saul.
Oh, God. No, I'm not doing that. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
Langston Galloway is making over 40% of his threes for the year, but in the first half, he's over 50%. In the second half, he's at 14%.
Okay, play him in the first half. I didn't say you had to play
14%?
All of them are terrible in the second half, but he's the worst.
How many has he shot in the second half? Because most of his minutes are primarily come.
He's shot enough to get a 14% breakdown, so it's got to be at least more than 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's shot enough, and it's bad, and that's so he's not like the dude who's suddenly going to score.
Look,
I think Abdel Nader
Damn.
scores more than Langston Galloway anyway, but
I don't think that's
it's
factually
based on
correct.
the female Suns Twitter
I don't think that's
faction.
It
is so funny because there are some female Suns Twitter followers, and they are appreciative of Abdel Nader being on the team. We'll say that.
Oh, Dave. All right. Let's
Abdul.
I've got something for us. As the Carmel Thunder from Down Under hinted at, there's been a weird week on Wall Street as well, as the internet and Reddit in particular has stuck it to the man, and it's time to play a little Stunks. We're going to take that big news of the week that was focused so much on the stock market and turn it into a fun game about your Phoenix Suns. The premise is simple, gentlemen. I'm going to give you a topic. You're going to tell me, are you going to buy that or are you going to short that Stunks here on the program? Number one on here, are you going to buy or short Frank Kaminsky as a backup big? We're going to start with Saul because we know where Dave's going to go.
Shorts involve buying, right?
Yeah. I meant, are you investing in the future or shorting it? Shorting.
Yeah, I'm shorting the stock on that one. I'm not a buyer of Kaminsky being a backup long term at all.
No, I'm shorting it too. No, I'm having fun with this, but there's no effing way I want Frank Kaminsky as my primary backup. No.
I also want to go on the record and say there is no player out there in the NBA that exists that could be a good, solid backup and who could slow down Jokic.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
Oh my God! If I see that one more time, I'm going to lose it. Like that dude doesn't exist.
Hey,
yeah,
that dude exists. At least use
your
Alex
6 Len, Espo?
What was that, Dave?
Is it Alex Len?
No, it's not Alex Len. Again, Twitter joke that apparently one person in the chat did not get was a joke. Let's move to the next one because everybody knows I'm shorting the hell out of that stock. I'm not investing in Frank Kaminsky as the actual backup.
No, you sell real estate.
So you're selling the real estate on Kaminsky Cove, is what you're saying.
He's shorting real estate on Kaminsky.
Of course.
Yeah. And he funneled it all over to Langston Lagoon, which is also starting to go belly up. So we have two properties right now that aren't worth the damn.
Well, what's Nader Island? Is it Nader Island? Where are you going now?
I made my money. I don't need that. Nader's Navy is coming up. We're gonna sell you some ships.
Vincent lied. No, JaVale cannot stop Jokic. Good Lord.
I never said JaVale McGee. Let's make that very clear.
Vincent in the chat suggests possibly. No. I don't know why you think that. Everything Jokic does is shoulder, 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 layup. Shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. JaVale doesn't have the stones to be able to handle that.
Are we investing in Monty Williams rotations, or are we shorting that?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I am gonna short the ones that he's played so far, but Monty would short them too because he's been stuck with 4 of his rotation players out for chunks. And when you've got at least the bottom 5 this year does not include Elie Okobo and Ty Jerome. Thank you very much, James Jones. At least there's playable players down there, but he's been stuck with some bad. He's done some bad subbing, and he would short his own. He would short himself.
I have to agree. I have not been the biggest fan of Monty's rotations. They've seemingly been random at times, and so that inconsistency. And I want to say this too. Last year, he was put in a position with a team that was struggling. You know what I mean? And they didn't have the dudes to be able to pull off what he wanted to pull off. This year he does. And with more power comes more responsibility. And so when he has the team that he has now and the flexibility that it provides, you have to start to figure out what your rotations are, and you need to be as buttoned down as possible too. Okay. Otherwise, you become the focus. And, I think there was an article this week by Valley of the Suns, which said that should Monty be on the hot seat? Number one,
not right side. Valley of the Suns. Thank you.
I said Valley of the Suns.
I know you did. Somebody in the chat said bright side. And I
don't know what they're talking about. Hello. I saw that. And no, that it was not bright side of the sun because our own Dave King writes for bright side of the sun.
He would not do that.
He would not do that because that is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yes, I would short it as well.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat, and I actually lost it here. I was Sun's Dog 24 says Monty is not perfect, but he's still the best coach the Suns have had
Since D'Antoni. Since Gentry.
Since the last time they had a good coach. Let's not
Actually,
go
you know
overboard.
what? You could totally different eras and rosters, so you can't really compare. But Monty and Gentry are just about level. It's got to be D'Antoni, and then
D'Antoni,
obviously
Westfall,
Cotton.
Simmons,
Pretty freaking great.
John McLeod. There's been an illustrious history of very good coaches in this franchise. So let's not forget those guys. But I'm gonna.
He's definitely better than Jeff Hornacek, by the way.
Oh, I love Jeff, the person.
Me too. But Jeff couldn't manage the locker room. Monty manages that locker room great.
Yeah.
And both were not awesome with X's and O's and rotations and all that. So you've got to put Monty above.
I agree. Monty is above Jeff Hornacek, but I'm shorting the rotations because his rotations have shorted the Suns so far this year. It is at times, to Saul's point, they've appeared random. I think some of the choices have hurt the team. Some of them are completely out of the fact that you're either guys fouling out, people cramping, people out because of health and safety protocols, Booker out. I get it. There's a lot of difficult things that have made these rotations weird, but even within what was available, sometimes these rotations have been odd. So I don't buy into it. That's not me saying I don't buy into Monty. I know a lot of people in not just on Valley of the Suns, but on Suns Twitter, elsewhere, have put some pressure on Monty over the last week and a half. And I don't think that's fair because rough stretch with losing Devin Booker, trying to figure out coming out of the health and safety protocols, but also there's something personal that's going on with coach that we don't know about. And I'm not going to judge a guy when something that seems fairly serious because he had to miss time around the team that he's not ready to talk about. To me, that says that's something that's turmoil in his personal life. And I'm just not going to judge a guy when he's going through that as well. We've all been through that, and you don't perform at your best. I'll pull back the curtain and share a little personal stuff. Our last show, I had just found out, a day before that my 96-year-old grandmother was battling COVID. I was distracted. It wasn't my best show because I had other things, going on in life, and that just happens. People aren't at their best when other things are going on. So I'm not going to put any kind of pressure on Monty, but I will say the rotations have lacked for me, and I expect that to be cleared up eventually, which I have all faith with.
I think the thing that brought it to a head was the 3-point decision and not fouling, and then obviously there was a travel and all this other stuff with Jamal Murray, and we saw how that's also just bad luck. That's just bad luck. You know what I mean? So like frustrating. And so, but when decisions like that are made or not made or not executed, then that's when, the eyes start to turn towards you. And people start to be like, oh, wait, I never thought about the fact that this could be a big problem too. And it's just like, hey, relax. People make mistakes. They'll be fine. They learn from it. And I think Monty Williams is one of those coaches, just like he tells the players, like, hey, you got to learn from your mistakes. Like, every good coach, any good coach would tell you, like, you can make a mistake. That's fine. Just don't make the same mistake twice. And I think Monty won't do that in the future.
Yeah. So one of Monty's issues, so let's compare the first 2 months of last year, rotations wise, to the bubble. First 2 months of last year, Monty experimented with every possible lineup, every possible weird mix of players and stuff, because it was the new season. He wanted to give everybody a chance to excel. As a coach, and Monty really believes in his players. He wants to give his players a chance to shine. We're going to see a period of time where E'Twaun Moore is getting a backup shooting guard time. Nader will be on the bench. Galloway will be on the bench. People will be up in arms about it. E'Twaun may or may not play well. He's going to do all that. He's going to play DA and Shards together. He'll probably start them together at some points. This is the thing. Remember when he played DA and Aaron Baines in the same lineup for a little bit last year just to see what would happen? And this is it. But then when he got into the bubble, when it was just an 8-game run and it was just to make the playoffs potentially and see what would happen, we never saw Ellie. We never saw Ty Jerome. We never saw all these guys who got all these runs early in the year. So that's why I say Monty would even short himself on these rotations, but it's because he's trying to give guys a chance. When it comes crunch time to win, really, really win games at the end of the year, you'll see him tighten that up, and then all of a sudden the team will play better. I really do think so, but you have to give guys a chance at least up until the trade deadline to show themselves for one way or another. These guys got to get a chance to play.
One of our favorite Flaming Bows, Perplexed Damage, says Monty is 70%, CP3 is 31% of the coach on this team. So the Suns have 101% of coaches right now, which is better than most other teams. So I think we should be all right.
I love the math.
Math nerd time again. Another one for you in the short or invest in category. CP3 is a clutch player. Are you investing or are you shorting? Saul, let's start with you.
I'm investing 100%. I know he missed a couple clutch buckets the other night. That's fine. You know, you could start to see that he's pushing his own scoring ability a little bit more and more every game. He drops over 30 against OKC. Obviously, that's a little bit of a revenge game because he just played for them last year. But I anticipate from this point forward, CP3 will make sure that he puts his foot on the gas enough to be a viable threat. And he's probably going to average somewhere between 15 to 20 for the rest of the season. I think before that, he was really focused on getting everybody else involved. And I think when Devin Booker comes back, there'll be a little bit more of that. But I think he's starting to realize that he's just as good an option as anybody else. Which is kind of funny to say, but when you're in a new system, you're trying to get everybody involved and get everybody to buy into what you're selling. Sometimes you have to give them a little bit for them to buy into you. And I think he's gotten to that point now. Now he can start to make his own way and really make this team his own.
What I don't want to see, though, is CP3 dribbling down, making no passes, running a pick and roll, getting himself to a spot on the right side of the paint next to the nail, and then taking a midi with no other players involved. I don't want to see that too often. It'll happen sometimes. Here's the thing. Devin Booker, another nerd alert. Devin Booker has made less than 30% of his clutch shots this year. 29, 26% of his clutch shot. That's going to turn around. Nobody is that bad in the clutch, even Devin Booker. The dude's got half a dozen game winners on his resume. He's obviously not a high conversion guy, especially on threes in the clutch. It never has been, but he's better than 29%. CP3 is gonna figure out how to get multiple passes into those late game possessions. I'm heavily investing in CP3 and Booker winning more games than they lose in the clutch as the season goes on. For sure.
It's okay for us to say that Devin Booker has not been good this year compared to where he has been, right? And that's what we're, especially in the bubble. Devin Booker right now compared to where he was in the bubble, it's like you wouldn't say he was an improvement. That's for sure.
No.
So I think that's okay, and I actually think that this break with the hamstring is probably the best thing that could have happened to Devin. Just to kind of, sometimes when you sit out and you kind of just you miss the game a little bit, you kind of reset a little bit, and you get back, and then you're full go, the force that you once were. And I think this will be a benefit to Devin.
Yeah, I'm going to do something that you probably shouldn't do in investing and based my future earnings on what I've seen in the past from the CP3 stock, but I'm gonna buy. I mean, I'm going to invest in this because when you look at it, you've seen what Chris Paul has done over his illustrious career. The beginning of the season has been the outlier when it comes to clutch moments, things like that, fourth quarter decisions. I'm going to invest in it, assuming that he becomes the guy that we all expect him to be at some point, especially when Devin Booker comes back.
Also, real quick, I just wanted to point this out. I don't know if you guys mentioned it last Saturday or not. I think you might have, but with Chris Paul specifically, last year, he was the OKC Thunder were terrible in the first, maybe I think 20 games of the season. They had a horrible record. They were maybe 6-10
They started
14 or
5 and
something like that.
10 for sure.
There you go, 5 and 10. And then they
yeah.
finished the season winning like 43 of their last 50 games. Like they were just incredible.
Yeah.
But that's the CP3 thing where he's
Figuring
teaching
it
these
out.
guys how to play with him and with each other and the certain mentality that it takes to get to that point. Because if you look at that OKC Thunder team from last year versus the Suns team this year, you can't say one's better than the other for sure. I would say that this Suns team is probably a little bit better than that OKC team. But
definitely
they just
better.
found a way to get it done because that's what he produces. It's like a fine wine. It just gets better with time. So everybody just pump the brakes, baby.
Yeah. The players all when you ask them the question about CP3, they're like, the dude is constantly coaching. Every single player, whether he's in the game or not, he is talking to players in between on dead balls or while they're both out of the game or something like that, constantly talking. I was worried that DA was going to just get, kind of pummeled too much because CP3 is angriest at him most of the time. But that's just CP3 coaching him up with a little bit of aggression. And DA actually gave an incredibly good answer saying, look, I need this. I need to be coached. I need all this. I need all this feedback. And they've given him credit for wanting to listen. He is not a natural at throwing it all out there 5 games in a row, 10 games in a row. He's got to learn. In fact, I would do what comes first, DA making the All-Star game or CP3 drawing blood with his words on DA. And I think DA is going to look pummeled before he rises back up to make an All-Star game level. But I love that CP3 coaches constantly, back to Saul's point. He is figuring it out. He's teaching these guys where they should be, what they should be doing. Once they do figure it out, they're going to roll. They had 4 or 5 different 5-game winning streaks this past year, OKC did, with a much worse roster than the Suns. Whether the Suns produce like that, we don't know yet, because a lot of what OKC was doing was actually beating teams that didn't expect them to be as good as they were. And the Suns, one of the things the Suns are facing is they're facing teams that are expecting them to be good every game, and so they're bringing their A game. The bad teams are treating this like their playoff game, like the Suns used to against good teams. And that makes it tougher on the Suns. It makes it harder to adjust.
Look, I don't need the Suns to be a fine wine. They can be a box wine as long as I get drunk on W's and I'll be good. Like that's all I care. Keep getting those W's. They're more talented than OKC was last year, and CP3 will turn it around. You bring up Ayton, Dave. So the next one is, are we investing in or shorting Ayton's body language this week? Dave, you're the doctor in this, so why don't you?
No, man. Matthew Lissy did a great job on Brightside, totally walking through Ayton's body language, but it is pretty obvious to me anyway. And to me is, sorry, excuse me.
So
to me, sorry. To me anyway, DA, you can tell in the first quarter how he's going to be for the game. If he is a second behind on his pick and rolls, setting picks, doing things like without the ball and without being the intention of getting the ball, he's going to have one of his, I'll get a double-double, I'll make some nice defensive plays, but I am not going to be a difference maker. And then the other games where he has a great game from the jump. He's invested and he's sweating within 5 minutes because he's been moving so dang fast. So I do think Matthew, obviously he might be putting a little bit too much stock in body language, but it does play out with DA. He doesn't often or almost ever turn it around in the second half when he starts poorly in a game. He's got to start well to finish well.
Saul's body language says he doesn't care about this.
The language are we still recording? That's Saul's body language.
Oh my God. I was like, all right, let's go.
For me, I'm shorting all body language because it doesn't matter. Play does the talking. I don't care if you have slumped shoulders or a mopey face or you're stoic the entire time. And Matthew Lissy, our friend from Suns Jam Session and one of the writers of Brightside, it's not a knock on you. It's just in general. I don't care for body language, and I'm not going to invest in it. That's just the way I feel about it. And Saul, I think, feels the same way because he was basically asleep during
That
that
was
one.
his body language.
Final investor short here. The Suns will have an all-star.
Oh, you know what? I've been thinking about that, and I'm going to put it together. Russell Westbrook gone, James Harden gone, Steph Curry back, Clay still out, Chris Paul almost certainly not. So you're down a few all-stars from last year. I really do think, and we were frustrated last year because the guys who does the voting? Shoot, the coaches, right? Yeah, assistant coaches do the voting for the All-Star. They always pick the incumbents first, as long as they're still representing, and then they bring in new guys when they're running out of when they still have spots left. So I do think Devin Booker will get a first crack at being an all-star. And I think it would help if his little girlfriend would push for him, so some random people who don't follow basketball would actually vote for him, so he gets higher than 10th in voting. That's been part of his problem, is he doesn't get higher than 10th in voting because he's not nationally recognized. Now he's more nationally recognized. So I think it will help. I do think Booker's an all-star this year.
I don't think we're going to have an all-star at all. I just don't. Devin Booker's your best shot at it, and he's been off this year. But again, if you're just this random novice on the East Coast that doesn't really watch a lot of Suns basketball, and you pull up stats and you see that Devin Booker's scoring averages is what it is, maybe you say, yeah, he should be an all-star because he was one last year. But I just don't think
that's how Russ got in.
Yeah, but Russ has been doing it for years, and he was also an MVP candidate. Like,
I just think people
Booker
default to who was an all-star last year. Is he still looking good? Donovan Mitchell's going to be an all-star again.
You need national recognition, though, and Booker hasn't been
Suns
in the playoffs.
are on national this year. The Suns are on national TV almost.
Booker hasn't done it in the playoffs because they haven't been to the playoffs. That's where Donovan Mitchell started to make his name, because he did so well against Houston the first year he was in the league. Like, he had those opportunities, and so do these other guys that Devin Booker hasn't had yet. And when he gets that opportunity, I'm sure he's going to do fantastic, and that's when his name will start to grow and get bigger. But right now, I just don't think it's there.
Yeah,
Shaheem guesses Frank is going to be our all-star.
Look, I'm actually going to go to the subreddit that started this GameStop stock craze and see if we can get Abdel Nader voted in as an all-star starter in the West. We're gonna try to make that happen.
You're so out on Frank. You went straight to Abdel Nader.
Frank's got a better chance. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's move to the most important
infinite tranquility on our chat says Damian Lillard gets in over.
Lillard will be
obviously. And remember that's what it took for him to get injured for Booker to be in the All-Star game in the first place last year. Otherwise, he doesn't make it either last season. So
right, but Russ is gone and James Harden is gone.
Yeah, but
Steph is back. That's still a -1.
So you only got one spot.
Yeah, and that was Booker's.
No, that was actually Lillard's last year. That's the problem.
No, Lillard's in.
Yeah, but Lillard wasn't in last year.
He wasn't in.
My God, you guys are still bad at math. Okay, never mind.
How are we bad at math? There's 12 spots on the All-Star.
No, Russ made the All-Star game. Harden made the All-Star game.
Yes, those two
last year, as well as Lillard and Mitchell.
Yeah, but Lillard didn't play, so he had to pull out.
I understand. So Lillard stays in this year. So if you go -2, you got a +1 with Steph. Steph. That still leaves one open, even with Lillard staying in there. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, you don't know math. Put your glasses back on.
You don't know math either. You're not accounting for Damian Lillard.
Lillard was in.
But he didn't. He wasn't on the All-Star roster because he couldn't.
No, I'm talking about the voting. The voting put in Russ, put in CP3, put in and James Harden.
Devin
All
Booker's
three of those
get
guys
in
are
on
not.
Vote?
Huh?
So you think Devin Booker's going to get in on a vote?
When you combine all three, when you combine the people and the coaches and the players, yes.
All right.
I think he gets in on the vote.
I don't know. It depends on how long this hamstring injury goes as well. But let's move to the most important topic of the show, right? We're going to talk about Devin Booker on the bench on Wednesday's game, and whatever that is that he's wearing. We obtained special audio, inside audio from the locker room prior to the Warriors game on Thursday.
You're not really wearing that, are you? Wearing what?
The man purse. You actually gonna wear that?
It's where I keep all my things. Get a lot of compliments on this. Plus, it's not a man purse. It's called a satchel. Indiana Jones wears one.
So does Joy Behar.
That was CP3 talking to Devin Booker about his Prada man purse.
Is that the new girl?
On the bench.
No, that's the Hangover.
No, actually, it was clipped from the Hangover.
That's it. Okay.
It caught a lot of people's attention that Devin Booker was wearing a satchel, a man purse, whatever you want to call it, on the bench.
Or as Seinfeld puts it, a European carry-all.
The first question has to be asked: would you guys wear one?
Well, if my girlfriend were Kendall Jenner and she told me it was a hot fashion trend,
if she told me to wear it, yes.
I don't
carrying my picture.
So are you telling me that if your wife?
Kendall.
So you're telling me right now that if your wife came into this room and said you need to wear this satchel, you wouldn't do it?
Well, if she could afford a Prada satchel for me, yeah. If she could afford Prada, I'd be wearing some Walmart knockoff that wouldn't look as good. All right,
you're done, man. You're done.
Plus, it would look like a fanny pack, 37 and fat. All right, let's talk about that. Now, look, we had some fun with this. Suns Twitter did on Thursday. A weird sight on the bench. Let's say that. So I want to play
if you
around.
wear that with gray sweatpants, you're still sexy.
Yo, that's what I was just about to say, buddy. That's exactly what I'm rocking with.
Hello. Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Gray sweatpants. You know, I think there's no dress code anymore, so I'm pretty sure that Devin Booker could wear gray sweatpants on the bench this year. So maybe we can get that trend going on with D-Book. He can wear that. Look, good on him. I don't know fashion. I'm not cool and in my 20s, right? But I want to play a round of.
I'm not going to say what Bug Dog said in the chat.
But don't share it either. Oh, dang!
I just read that. Yeah, we're not sharing or reading that, but if you want to see, go to YouTube.
Whoa, Bug Dog coming in with the heat. I love it. I love it.
If you watch Bull Durham, it may have been a secret that Nuke Lelouch tried on the mound to get his concentration back. Anyways, I want to play a round of what was in Devin Booker's purse on the bench. I'll start with the first one. I'm pretty sure it was migraine medicine for Monty Williams, just in case they blew another double-digit lead. What do you guys got? What was in Devin Booker's purse?
A can of Pepsi.
A Pepsi.
Because that's what Kendall Jenner reps. So you gotta have a can on you. There you go.
Dave, what do you got? What was in Devin Booker's purse?
I got the burner that Kendall gave him, so they could have their conversations outside of the public eye. That's it. She gave him something so that she can always keep in touch with him and always contact him, and he always has to answer it every time she calls.
This is a throwback. I'm going to say the mid-level exception. If you get that joke, you've been a Suns fan for a while. You understand.
He's not that much in bed with Sarver. Yeah.
So you got another one. What was in Devin Booker's purse?
Oh man, I don't a new hamstring. That's all I got.
Hey, Dave, what do you have?
He also has a burner to his other girlfriend that Kendall doesn't know about. So there's two burners in there.
It's going with the burner phone here.
Yeah, I'm going with a theme.
Perplexed in the chat says Espo wears sweatpants at the candy shop.
I don't know.
Hey man, we all. That would be not. That's not good a proper attire there. I'll tell you that.
They're baggy, I'm guessing is what they need to be. One of Monty Williams' additional rotations, because Monty's pulling him out of anywhere he can. So why wouldn't there be one in Devin Booker's purse? Do we have any more? Does the chat want to say what is it Devin Booker's purse? Nicholas Tan in the chat says the key to the offense, maybe, because they haven't ignited that lately. So
keys to the offense. That's pretty good.
Skittles. Do that in chat. Yeah.
Saul's tired this morning. You can tell the body language is telling.
It's been a long week, man. I've been busting my ass trying to move this whole damn house by myself.
Yeah. Why by yourself?
Dave would have come over.
The old lady had to work all week. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, when you call her old lady, she's not going to take time off.
Because her current employer it will not accept vacation days any earlier than 3 months in advance.
No way.
Yeah, they set the schedule out. She's a veterinarian, so she has a
She could have
schedule
called
to
out
keep.
sick.
That's what I said. I said that, man, you should just call out sick like 3 days in a row.
Well,
Who
when you
cares?
call her old lady, I'm going to work.
I mean, that's what I call her.
What are you in? What is this? The 70s?
That's my day one. There you go.
What's in Devin Booker's purse? So that was a round of that. We know what is.
Saul's old lady was in his purse.
What's in Saul's old lady's purse is Saul's manhood. So we know that. Which I'm hoping
back on me, Espo, because you threw your wife under the bus first.
Look, what I'm hoping is that's a slightly larger purse than what Devin Booker was wearing on the bench. That's all I'm saying for Saul.
Saul was doing good for the first 3 quarters of unpacking, but lost in the fourth.
That's exactly what happened. I fell apart, man. I let the whole team down.
Perplex damage. Saul not used to being in color.
It's not the dark lights turned down mood.
It's like Saul vision. We're upping the decade every episode.
Yeah. That lamp back there, by the way, is from the 40s, and that's also what I'm going to give you as a gift when you go to the nursing home, Dave. So
I already got one of those. Carved it myself.
The joy of all this.
I'm pretty sure the wheels have completely fallen off this morning. So no, there is no imagine this. You didn't want to do a big board. I didn't want to imagine this.
Thought about Espo with his gray sweatpants in the candy store. So
imagine this. Espo.
I don't want to imagine that.
We don't need any more. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Too bad. You got to imagine it. Now, one thing I did want to bring up before we get out of here, a shout out to one of our flaming ballers, Max, who reached out to me on Twitter. He is on Instagram. He's a 19-year-old Suns fan who wanted to tell us how much he loved the show. Was having a rough week because one of the Suns Facebook pages apparently banned him, one of the bigger ones, because he expressed his displeasure with the Lakers and his dislike for Kobe Bryant, and somehow it got him banned from a Suns message board on Facebook. And let me say this. Any Suns place that would ban you for besmirching the Lakers or talking ill of anybody who has played for the Lakers isn't a real Suns message board. So, Max, you are always welcome here at the Suns Solar Panel because it's always beat LA here. We dislike the Lakers. And as much as I feel for Kobe Bryant's family, and it was an untimely passing, my feelings about Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, have always remained the same. So I feel you, Max. Yeah, we're here for you. Thanks for being a member of the Flaming Ballers. If you want to be part of that, click the join button on the YouTube page or hit subscribe on wherever you're listening to the podcast and leave a 5-star review. We need it. It's helpful with the algorithms.
I actually have something I would like to say. Is that okay?
Of course. You're part of the show.
So a buddy of mine way back in the day, we used to play basketball together when we were in the military. His name's Tone Johnson. I just wanted to give a shout out to his family. He retired in October and unfortunately passed away in the first week of December due to COVID, and he just had his memorial service last week. And he was like a big, strong dude and very athletic and still in shape. Still kept up with it because obviously in the military you got to keep it up. And it was kind of a shock to us all. But I just wanted to send my prayers out to his family because it's really unfortunate what's happened with. Obviously, he's not alone in all this. There's been many cases like him around the country, and too many of them. But I just
I'm sorry for the loss.
Yeah, so
sorry for your loss.
Rest in peace, Tone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your service, and thank you to your family for their sacrifice, Tone. We appreciate you.
One thing he would say though is like, "Hey, don't BS and don't be sounded all sad. Like I lived a good life." I guarantee he would say that. So we just rock on.
Well,
rock on.
We appreciate the sentiment, and thank you to everybody who serves our country. We appreciate you, and to anybody that's lost somebody due to COVID, our hearts go out to you as well. This has been a tough 9 months, and we have a little while left to go, it looks like, but we appreciate each and every one of you that have been along for the ride with us. I know this is the show, and being able to do it is cathartic. This is the closest I get to hanging out with friends on a weekly basis.
Same. Appreciate this. Yep.
I appreciate you, Saul. I cannot wait till we can all come over and enjoy some barbecue in that new backyard of yours, Saul, as long as you can figure out which box you put the grill in. We know you're struggling to find a little bit of
If
every.
you put a grill in a box, you got problems.
When she said, "Hey, can you pack this, this, and this?" I was like, "Okay, yeah." There's like, if I had 3 pieces to a grill, I guarantee each piece would be in a different box.
That's good. And Vincent in the chat says Saul shooting 14% in the second half of this episode. A callback joke to earlier. So just to end it with a little levity.
But that was it. Yeah, you hit the game winner though. That was great sentiment.
I
Thank you for sharing, and we are very sorry for their loss.
So
Clutch.
it is time to say goodbye and wrap up this episode of the Sun Solar Panel. You can follow Dave King at Dave King NBA. The NBA is there because Dave knows a lot about the NBA. And and then Saul Bookman, you can follow him at Saul_Bookman. The underscore is there because the Saul and the Bookman are too hot. And if you put it together, it's just, it's going to be nuclear. All right. It's almost as good as a Prada man bag. All right. And then I am at Espo. You can follow the show at Sun Solar Panel. And new way to get in touch with us. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at mailbag@solarpanelpod.com. You can catch us there. So for Dave, for Saul, the Carmel Thunder from Down Under, I am Greg Esposito. Ahoy, hoy. And we'll talk to you next time here on the Solar Panel.